So we use elderberry syrup in our household as a preventative for colds, and we take this syrup every day with breakfast. We take a teaspoon once a day, and then if we're traveling, we actually will boost that up to 2 teaspoons about a week before we leave a day, and 2 teaspoons a week after we come back from vacation, just to keep us nice and healthy. It is been such a game changer in our lives, and Steve and I have been sick so much less now that we started using elderberry syrup. So what I'm going to do today is just share with you how to make a syrup. We will have the full recipe. We're working on that blog post right now at GullionHomestead.com. But we are going to start with some organic elderberries that I purchased online. Here I'm showing you, I actually write the recipe on the lid of the mason jar, and then I use a food saver to keep my elderberries in a 1/2-gallon jar. We're running low right now, so I am getting ready to order some more of those. And I do order them off of Amazon. If you end up going to my blog, I will have a Amazon link on my blog post as well. So I'm starting with 2 cups of they're just dried elderberries I actually throw into a pot. Then I'm going to throw about 4 cinnamon sticks. Okay, so let me share some other benefits before we move on with the recipe. The elderberries in general, for a cup of elderberries, contains about 58% of the recommended daily value of vitamin C. So it's very high in vitamin C. It's also a great source of antioxidants, which can protect your cells from other damage, including cancer. So that is another reason that Steve and I actually are pretty passionate about having our elderberry syrup every day. Now I'm going to add 4 cups of water and 1/2 cup of lemon juice. I use an organic lemon juice that I buy from Azure Standard that I really like. It is 100% lemon juice with no additives. Now we will add honey to this later on, and I will talk to you about this later in the video, but for now we have cinnamon sticks, elderberries, water, and lemon juice, and then we're going to add to this a couple teaspoons of ginger and about 4 cloves. I doubled this recipe because I like to just make it lasts for 6 months in the fridge, so I just like to make basically 6 months worth of elderberry. I don't really like to make it that often. It's not that it's hard, it's just one more thing I have to do in the kitchen. And so I just like to make a double batch of this, which normally makes close to 4 pint jars for us. Plus, sometimes I actually give it away. If I know that somebody's sick, I'll just give them a pint of elderberry syrup while they're kind of dealing with their illness. So if you have followed my blog before or have followed me here on YouTube, you know that I have a spice pantry, and I'm opening up my spice pantry right now. I have access to pretty much all the spices I need to make pretty much everything in the kitchen. And so here is where I'm adding my ginger, and I have ginger and I have cinnamon sticks in bulk in containers ready to be used. Now I'm just going to turn my stove on medium, and I'm going to let this come to a soft boil, and then we're going to turn it down and let it simmer for 45 minutes. So in the process of making elderberry syrup, my brother stopped by today and visited with us and was actually roaming through my pantries to see everything that we were doing, and also visited the garden out back. So it was kind of a fun little trip and visit from my brother. So now I'm just going to let this boil, as I said, boil down to a soft boil, or boil to a soft boil, and then we will turn it down and let it simmer for 45 minutes. Okay, so here you can see it's boiling up nicely, and what's going to happen as it simmers is that it's going to reduce, the liquid's going to reduce to about half, and we're going to have a thicker liquid syrup product for us to add honey to here shortly to keep in our fridge for a good 6 months. So this syrup will last 6 months if refrigerated. You cannot can this. I have tried to find all the information that I could about canning this, and I'm not finding anything. So I've never canned this. I'm sure there are people out there that do that, but I just have not done that. So here we are. We're just stirring it up and just letting it simmer here for a little bit longer. Okay, after I was editing my video, I started to think about why I never can my elderberry. The reason I don't can my elderberry is because of the honey. So if you heat honey up to like boiling, you lose all the properties. So that is why you can't pressure can that, because it would get too hot. So you can definitely keep it in your refrigerator for 6 months. I just checked this morning, and our elderberry that we have just like this much left in one jar was made in December. So it's April, so it's lasted us 4 months, and I'm pretty sure I gave a jar away to my daughter when she was really sick. So I think that we probably only went through 3 pint jars in 4 months. So definitely won't go bad in your fridge if you take it every single day. That was for 2 of us, so you could actually triple that recipe if you wanted to make enough for a family of, like 4. What you could do though, and this is a thought I had not thought about until this morning, you could not put the honey into your elderberry, cook your elderberry down, can your elderberry, so you would have stock of it. And I'm thinking now this is something I might consider doing. And then heat your elderberry up after you pull it out, let it cool down just enough to be able to add the honey to it, because again, you want it to be warm so your honey kind of melts and incorporates in that, but you don't want the honey to get too hot that you actually lose all of the health benefits from it. So I totally forgot. I only make this every 6 months, and so I totally forgot when I researched this before that is why I was not doing the canning. So that's just another tip if that's something you're interested in. So let's talk about honey. I purchased my honey in bulk from Azure Standard, and as you can see, I've got these very large containers. They are good. It's very, very good honey. The quality of this honey is very good, but it is not local. And if you know anything about honey, it's actually best for allergies and health benefits for you to buy honey that's actually made from bees locally, but it is honestly just too pricey for me. It's not in my budget to spend that kind of money on honey. I am absolutely understand why it is so expensive locally and how much how much work it is to actually get honey from the bees for beekeepers. I know that, but for right now in our budget and in this economy, we have to buy our honey in bulk. So what I'm doing here is I'm actually emptying out the last big container of honey I have, and I'm dividing it into some pint jars. I just had this idea today that I'm tired of taking it out of this big container, and I want it in jars that are more easier for me to access. So I emptied that container, and then I opened my other new container and stuck the rest of that honey into pint jars so I would have that in my pantry for easy access. Now I want to talk a little bit about the health benefits of honey, and one of the things that it has is an antioxidant property, and so just like the elderberries, we're getting, I feel like, twice the antioxidants in our body to help to fight off some inflammation and some cancer. And so again, Steve and I just are trying to live healthier life right now. So there are also antimicrobial, antioxidants, and anti-inflammatory properties in honey. So honey is just a great thing to add to your diet. Okay, so we are done cooking down our elderberry. I cooked it for 45 minutes, let it rest, try to cool down for 10 minutes or so. And sometimes I let it go for 15 minutes. But now what we're going to do is we're going to drain off all of the contents, elderberries, the cinnamon, and the clove, and all of that. So we're going to go ahead and drain all of those off, and then we're going to add honey, and we're going to jar that up. So let me show you the process here. I'm going to see my sink here. And in my sink, I just have a medium-sized bowl. Sometimes I use a large bowl, but I just don't have a large bowl available now because of some other projects I've been working on.
So in the kitchen, it's Sunday, it's kind of a busy day, and we've already had my brother come over. We've been working out in the garden, and I just remembered that we did not have enough elderberry to make it through the rest of the week. So that's why I decided to go ahead and make this today.
So I just pulled out a colander and I'm going to drain all of the juice off of my elderberry mixture off the stove into a cheesecloth, and that will drain through my colander and into my bowl. So you can see the I don't know if you guys can see that. It is a little bit thick, and that's how we want it. It's going to get thicker when we add the honey. So just gonna, and I like to get all the elderberries in there because there's still some juice left in the elderberries, and I want to get as much of that in there as I can so that I can strain that off. All right, so then what I'm going to do is, so we have that much, doesn't look like we have that much juice in there, but that's just because all the stuff has to strain off. So you can do it by hand, although I will say when it's hot like this, it makes it really hard. So I just kind of do the same thing I do when I'm making some of my cheeses. I'm literally just going to tie this up. For me, I can tie it on this bar. For most people, you can tie that really to any kind of faucet you have will work as well. And if that doesn't work for you, well, you can wait till it cools off really nicely, and then you can just squeeze all of that juice out. But I'm just gonna let the juice drain. Show you guys again, just gonna let the juice drain there. And we're just gonna get as much of that out as we can. Now, if this process takes a little bit longer, you can see how hot it is. It's pretty warm, but you could also just take, a rubber glove and squeeze it as well. And that will get a lot of your juice out, as you can see. And since these rubber gloves are like heat proof, I really don't have a problem getting that done. But there's a couple different ways you can do it, so it just depends on how fast you want to go. Now that I'm doing this, I think I'm just going to try to go with it like this. Now, I know I lost a little bit of elderberry in my sink. It's just part of the process. It's okay. Let's see what we got here. So we have a decent amount. Plus, we're getting ready to add some honey to it too. Now, one of the reasons I like to get as much of the juice out when it's warm like this is because I want to make sure that it's nice and warm, so when I mix my honey in there, the honey just kind of melts and just all kind of goes, it mixes well together in the elderberry. I hope that makes sense. And then you've got a nice, perfectly spicy but yet sweet elderberry. Plus, of all the benefits of honey, which we talked about earlier, is just awesome to have as well. Okay. So I think I've gotten most of the juice out of there. So I'm just going to go ahead and take that off. We'll dump those elderberries here in a minute. You can see that's kind of thick already. Okay. Then all I'm going to do is, while it's here in the sink, I know it looks kind of messy, and it is. It's a messy process for sure. I'm just going to add my honey. We have 2 cups of honey. And since the syrup that I already made is kind of warm, this is probably going to incorporate quite nicely. It normally does. You can also put it back on the stove. So let's just say you don't have time to squeeze it out like that and you just want to let it go by gravity. You absolutely can do that. And then just put it back on the stove, heat it up a little bit so that you get, so you can incorporate your honey. So for ease of transfer, I just pour my syrup into a measuring cup. It just makes it easier to pour it into your canning jars. And then I've got 4 clean pint canning jars. You can use any jar really, but these are just the jars that I have available. I pretty much only have canning jars in my home. And I just filled those up to I leave about 1-inch headspace. It's not going to expand. I just think it looks better, and I prefer that so we don't spill it when we open the lid. And I was able to get almost 4 full pint jars out of this batch of elderberry. So that was perfect, exactly what I planned on. I then threw lids on them, and make sure that you date these so you know when they expire, and also put what's in it, because, well, it's just important to label everything that you make in your kitchen so you know what you have. Thanks for joining us today. We hope you're having the best day. Please like and subscribe so you don't miss any of our future content. Bye.